Alright, Torture Talk. Like, share, subscribe to the page. I want to talk about something I seen that David Banner has said about hip-hop and how it's embarrassing. And he gave his thoughts on a couple of things. I think that he was kind of all over the place to me, but I'm let y'all see what he said, and then I'm gonna come back and talk about it.
Doing stuff, but we don't support them. If hip-hoppers ain't acting like monkeys, then people don't fucking support them. And I'm tired of that, dude. What's going on in hip-hop right now is embarrassing, dude. And the thing is, it's nothing as a whole wrong with hip-hop. Hip-hop just needs some fucking balance. Hip-hop don't need to be all positive. It don't need to be all negative, but we need to control the images. We're going to have to start setting some rules and some criterias, and we're going to have to start holding people accountable to it. We're going to have to start going and knock on people's doors. You say you hip-hop, all right, let me check your credentials. If you say you hip-hop, let me see what you're doing for the hip-hop community. And I don't mean the rappers, I mean the people who's consuming hip-hop. What are you doing? If you're a hip-hop clothing line, what are you doing for the community? If you for hip-hop, then why were you not in Ferguson? If you're a hip-hop blog site, why were you not in Baltimore? Fox Network was there, making sure that what they wanted to do and the way that they wanted to make black people look, or hip-hop look as a whole, they were there. Where were the hip-hop blog sites to defend hip-hoppers and young people? Everybody in hip-hop say they from the hood, but when the hood needs them, they're nowhere to be found. And it's time for people to start holding them accountable for it, dude. I'm tired, dude. Our kids are dying. Little black girls are getting beat. Where all the gangsters at when it comes to that? You know what I'm saying? Zimmerman still walking around. Where all the people who are showing hip hop when it comes to that? I don't get it, dog. I just don't get it, homie. Man, listen. Let me tell you something. I'm gonna tell you why I don't believe there are no good cops. There are no good cops because one of my best homies is a cop, and he told me something. I never forget this. He said, Banner, every cop knows who the bad cops are. And if all this law shit that America talks about is real, if anybody breaks the law, they are supposed to be held accountable. And then what the policemen want to say, well, it's no different than what y'all talk about in the hood with the no snitch policy. No, it's not, because we're not being paid. No, it's not, because we don't stand under a law or creed that actually crucifies other people based on that creed. And because you are trained to know and do better. So it's not the same. You're not regular. You have that badge on. You're getting paid by our money. So the truth is, if there are really good cops, you know who the bad cops are. Do something about it. And if you don't do something about it, then you're a coward. Because you'll beat our ass. If we have some dope, you'll take our ass to jail. They're acting like black kids are not human. If that was a white kid in any of those situations, America would have shut down, and they know it. I asked the person one time, if Trayvon Martin was white, would this whole situation been different? And he told me, David Banner, yes. And that shows you where America is.
All right, man. David Banner. David Banner, South rapper, been doing this thing for a long time. He's been on his I would say wokeness since he's been out. He's always been talking about this, so it's no surprise that David Banner has said these things and some of these things. Now, for the record, here's my issue that I have with, and it goes beyond David Banner, and it goes beyond hip-hop, and it goes beyond everything that he spoke on. And one of my major issues that I have with these hip-hop heads, and it's just not David Banner, but I would say everybody, I would say, not just David Banner, but everybody that speaks on hip-hop, they always seem to blame somebody else. It's like he went from hip-hop being embarrassing, and I know the premise of his argument was that hip-hop, people cover hip-hop, but what about hip-hop blogs? How come they're not out there? How come they're not there? Then he started going into Zimmerman, and he said that Zimmerman's still walking around, and you have other things he said. That was just like, to me, was like a reach. And it's like, let's just be clear, because I really, and I hate to say this, but black people need to take more accountability for what they do, man. And we cannot keep blaming everybody for everything. Like, let's just be serious here. Most of the homicides that happen in America is black on black crime. So I wish all these celebrities and it's like they want to be halfway woke, but they don't want to speak on things that actually go on in the black community. And that's the type of stuff that really bothers me, is because there's a couple of things that you could say, that you could have implemented, but you want to point the finger at other people who are doing a job. Like hip hop is a way of life for some people, but for the most part, hip hop is just a job. That's all it is. It's entertainment. It's just like any other genre. And I think that once a lot of us start taking that into consideration, things will change, because most of us just think that hip-hop, we think hip-hop is real. Like, that's what separates hip-hop from rock music or alternative music or R&B or whatever else other music you can think of. That's what separates hip-hop. Most of those guys, R&B, soul, rock, most of those guys, they don't take hip-hop home, or they don't take the music genre home with them. I mean, some of them do, but for the most part, they're just musicians. And I think that hip-hop needs to be that way too, because you got a lot of hip-hop, you have a lot of these hip-hop artists who contribute to the demise of the black man in America, but they don't want to ever admit that. It's like you talk about shooting, and you talk about bitches, and you talk about hoes, and you talk about certain things, but you just don't want to admit that certain things that you say can influence a bunch of different people and can push people to do things that they don't necessarily want. But see, we don't blame the hip-hop artists for doing that. I mean, some people did, but for the most part, we don't blame the hip-hop artists. So how are you blaming other people for letting things happen? They're just like the hip-hop artists. Like you say, okay, so you say Zimmerman's still walking around, then how come the hip-hop artists ain't doing nothing about it? How come, how is that? Like, why are you not saying that? Why are you not saying these hip-hop artists need to take more accountability? Because they're the street narratives. They're the ones that create these narratives sometimes, and a lot of times they're the ones that tell people, and people take what they say serious or take it as gospel. So you can't sit here and say that hip-hop is embarrassing because they're allowing things to go on. How about we stop the crime in our neighborhoods? How about that? How about we talk about that? That's the most important thing. The abortion rate in the black community and the criminology in the black community. To me, that's the most important thing. Not this, why is Zimmerman walking around and all this stuff. That don't mean nothing. And then he said something about, he asked the question, he said, if Trayvon Martin was white, would this have been different? See, that's a loaded question. First of all, if you already have the answer in the question, that makes no sense. If Trayvon Martin was white, it would be different. That's the answer. Why are you even asking that question? If Trayvon Martin was white, yeah, of course it would be different, because he would be white. So I don't understand. It makes me mad when I know that David Banner is a highly intelligent person. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not saying he's not. But sometimes you guys ask these questions where you already have the answer, and it's like if I try to answer it a different way, then I'm anti something. And it's like, that's not even fair to even ask. Like, come on. That doesn't make sense. It's like me saying, well, if OJ was white, like, come on, man. You already gave the answer in the question. So I don't understand it. You know what I mean? You already, it's like a rhetorical question. You already know the answer, but yet still you want to say, ask the question anyway. But either way, like I said, I appreciate David Banner. It's at least he's one of these people that's given his side. And although I don't agree with everything he said in that post, I'm happy that he is saying something, because they've got a lot of artists out here who don't say nothing. And it's like, maybe they don't want to say nothing because they don't want to be a part of it. But then they want to make music to make money off it. That's another thing he didn't say. You didn't talk about all the hip-hop artists who actually use the struggles of a black man to make money. Some of these artists never even been to the hood, but yet and still they use it to make money. You ain't talk about that. You know what I'm saying? So let's be fair across the board. The most important thing to me is stopping crime in the black community. I don't care about nothing else. Anything else can happen. If we can tackle that and tackle the abortion rate in the black community, trust me, things will change. But that's where it starts at. You can't blame these news outlets and all these other people for trying to make money off the hip-hop genre when that's what they do. That's what they've been doing. We allowed that to happen. And you got a lot of artists who exploit it. So you can't say it's everybody else's fault. Everybody's contributing to that factor, not just them. Torture Talk, man. Like, share, subscribe to the page.